Good afternoon. Today on the 1T Show, we'll be interviewing Dr. Calamari, an expert on the humanitarian efforts in Africa. Let's give him a warm round of applause. You're welcome, Dr. Calamari. Where do the humanitarian efforts take place, and what do they provide?
They're mainly based in the poor areas and the developing countries of Africa, such as Sudan, Congo, Chad, Ethiopia, among many other countries. We provide medical relief to those who need it, as well as disaster relief, and we combat the diseases of poor areas such as HIV/AIDS, malaria, sickle cell anemia, and many other diseases. Our priorities include the African economy and government stability. We try to help both of those out, and we help those through stable democratic institutions, and there are many volunteers creating homes and schools around Africa that try to give children a better chance of survival and so that they can get a good job.
What caused Africa to be such a poor state? I've always wondered that.
Mainly due to government. The governments are corrupt and they try to keep the profits to themselves instead of distributing them among the general population, which would help greatly. They also keep goods from being sold just to keep the prices higher, and that's not very is more detrimental than helpful because many of the families do not have enough money to buy these goods then. This has sparked many civil wars, which has further led to problems trying to get aid to the area, and just complicated matters in general. There are many institutions, such as World Bank, which have tried to help out, but they usually don't end up being successful because they take a Western approach to their methods, and they don't focus on development, which is really needed there. Diseases also create a problem for Africa, and much of the usable workforce is afflicted by some disease of some shape or form, and it increases the mortality rate compared to the rest of the world.
Education is also another thing that I've heard that has affected Africa greatly. Can you please expand on that?
There are many issues causing problems, mainly lack of funding to the area. This has caused many children to have little or no education, and less than 5% end up graduating from secondary schools.
Wow, that's a really staggering number there.
We had hoped it would be higher. Currently, humanitarian organizations are trying to create universities so that way people can have better jobs. The African Education Foundation is attempting to create partnerships with American and Canadian universities, just so that way they can make more projects for building schools, building other universities in Africa. And through higher education, the African economy should grow, there should be less political problems, and the it should be increase the life expectancy as well.
Wow. That seems like a large weight put on your shoulders.
It's very hard, but we have many volunteers, and it's always nice to see the villagers smile after you've completed a school for them.
Wow, that's a really nice thing that you're doing for those people. How do you get the money to support your projects in Africa?
We get almost all the money from donations either made by the public or made by the governments themselves, such as the U.S., who has the President's Emergency Plan for AIDS relief. Britain and Denmark, among many other European countries, help out as well. We ship these supplies aboard large cargo barges, and then they're picked up by trucks at the ports, and then they are distributed among the population who needs them.
Another staggering fact is the food crisis and the number of deaths caused by it. Can you please explain about it?
The food crisis primarily exists in southern Africa, where the weather patterns are very erratic and unpredictable. So there are many droughts and many floods which destroy crops, and it leaves families not being able to provide enough food for themselves. So what we do to help is we provide those families with food, with clean drinking water, and we also provide them with drought-resistant seeds, so that way they can grow food to provide for themselves. There are about 14 million people threatened by starvation, and 2,500 children die every day due to starvation from droughts, floods, and just lack of water in general. And it is estimated that about 270,000 tons of food is needed to provide for these people.
Wow. What's really sad, in my opinion, are the number of deaths caused by diseases and their effects on Africa.
Yeah, like the diseases such as HIV/AIDS and malaria, they're very hard to cure, but we do have many medical stations set up around Africa, and we're trying to give aid to those who need it. And we provide immunizations to villages and many people all over Africa. About 7,500 vaccinations are provided to mothers and children. Training is also being provided to villages to help treat HIV/AIDS, malaria, and many other diseases that may spring up. There are over 20 kinds of vaccines helping to preserve the lives of those who are infected by HIV/AIDS.
How can our viewers at home donate to these causes?
They can help out by calling the African Aid Corporation by calling 555-326-5429. They can also help out by donating to websites that are devoted to helping people live better lives, such as www.usaid.gov and www.care.org, among many other websites.
Wow. Thank you for Dr. Calamari for appearing on our show.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. We'll see you next time on The 1T Show.